Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
Tread, tread, tread. When Chen Beiyuan slowly stepped out of the door alone, he saw an empty street. Once upon a time, the bustling streets were deserted, without even a ghost. In addition, radiating from the surroundings to the outside, almost no one can be seen in most street corners of the imperial capital. Maybe he knew about the Chen family's madness and the possible conflicts that would follow. All the dandies in the imperial capital were forcibly ordered to stay home for fear of causing trouble to their families. Even ordinary people in the imperial capital could vaguely sense such a depressing atmosphere and chose to stay at home for fear of being implicated. Since ancient times, the battles above have been bloody. If they are accidentally involved, the lives of the whole family will be at risk. When things get to this point, it's time to put an end to it. Chen Beiyuan nodded, looking at Lin Jiuxiao, who was hanging outside the door, covered in white with various scab wounds, and looking comatose. He immediately glanced in all directions, with an inexplicable look on his evil face. Smile. I saw that he ignored the cold streets around him, ignored the pairs of eyes peeking from the dark, and walked straight forward. He knew very well that almost every move he made now attracted the attention of all the big shots in the imperial capital. Everyone is staring at him. Everyone is wondering what he wants to do. Everyone is wondering, is he crazy? What's going on? He is really just one person. Where are the other strong men of the Chen family? Where are the Xuanjiao army? Why haven't any of them come out? Wait a minute. He seems to be going to the Lin family. Is he crazy? Is it possible that he wants to compete with the entire Lin family on his own? Is he crazy? I thought he would lead all the strong men of the Chen family to fight to the death with the Lin family. Even if he loses, he can make the Lin family pay the price. But he actually wants one person? He doesn't want to live anymore? When they saw that Chen Beiyuan was actually walking towards the Lin family alone, those who were secretly peeping with their spiritual thoughts felt crazy. Upstairs greeting guests, an old man in white with an air of immortality looked at Chen Beiyuan walking towards the Lin family alone from a distance, frowning slightly, as if he had seen something incomprehensible. It's strange that this child is possessed by such a strong calamity energy. It's almost a sign of death. But why does the calamity energy just linger around him and not enter his body? This shouldn't be the case. Royal Palace. Emperor Jiang was sitting on the dragon chair, with a black and yellow mirror placed in front of him, which actually reflected the entire imperial capital. The figure of Chen Beiyuan walking towards the Lin family was among them. It is less than 10 miles outside Kyoto. There is an unequal battle going on at this moment. Hundreds of thousands of people encircled and attacked an army of less than 100,000 people. Suppressing nearly several times the force would normally result in a complete crushing. However, the strange thing is that it is the miscellaneous army mixed with different races that has the absolute upper hand at this moment. I saw this miscellaneous army howling like ghosts and howling with excitement, while beating back the hundreds of thousands of troops in front of me. As a top aristocratic family, the Lin family's residence in the imperial capital is not far from the Chen family, just a few streets apart. At this moment, outside the Lin family's door, figures exuding the pressure of superiors had already gathered. The head of the Lin family, Lin Shufeng, the young master Lin Jiuzhou, the third master of the Lin family, Lin Shuqiong, the eldest elder of the Lin family. Almost all the important figures in the Lin family gathered together and stood outside the gate, waiting for something. In addition, all the second and third generation descendants of the Lin family also appeared here. Among the crowd, Lin Zhao's figure was also vaguely lurking. At this moment, he was wearing a human skin mask on his face, covering his true face, but his eyes were full of resentment and excitement. Chen Beiyuan, you have today too. Back then, you used the power of the Chen family to do whatever you wanted and humiliated me 100 times. Now the entire Chen family is about to fall. Let me see if you can escape this disaster. Ha ha ha, the sky really has eyes. The sky has eyes. Now you can finally understand my original despair. Last time outside the mist forest, he received a slap from the good corpse for no apparent reason. If he hadn't used the great movement order to run faster, his life would probably have been saved even if he hadn't been killed on the spot. After returning to the Lin family, he began to encourage Lin Jiuxiao and frequently made remarks to Lin Shufeng, hoping to force the entire Qin family to death. Seeing that the entire Qin family was in trouble, Lin Xiao just felt happy in his heart, as comfortable as drinking a bucket of ice water on diffusion. Soon, under the gaze of the entire Lin family, a figure in black slowly appeared on the street ahead, walking towards their direction. Compared with the scene where the entire Lin family is crowded, Chen Beiyuan, who is alone and alone, undoubtedly looks extremely weak. Seeing that Chen Beiyuan was really here alone, Lin Shufeng couldn't help but feel a little strange on his face. The other party actually went to the meeting alone. Where did he get the confidence? No matter how powerful you are, you can defeat the ordinary emperor realm. But it is nonsense to want to compete with the entire top aristocratic family on your own. Hey, isn't this the head of the Qin family who just took office? Why are you alone? Where are the rest of the Qin family? Are they all dead? The third elder of the Lin family joked with malice. He has not forgotten how he was humiliated by the Qin family when he was in Magic City. Ha. Maybe the rest of the Qin family are too lazy to come, so they let the head of the Qin family come. No, the head of the Qin family is not planning to fight against my entire Lin family by himself, is he? Ha. Before he could finish his scolding, those people suddenly froze, like ducks that had their necks strangled. Just because a terrifying imperial power descended instantly, overwhelming countless people present and unable to breathe. In an instant, the expressions of all the Lin family members present and all the important people paying attention to the situation here changed drastically, and they stared at the figure in black, full of shock and disbelief. Tread. As Chen Beiyuan strode forward, the clear sky suddenly turned dark, as if it was dyed with a layer of hazy black ink that kept spreading. In an instant, the entire imperial capital was shrouded in darkness. What's even more terrifying is that Chen Beiyuan's cultivation level has been rising crazily step by step. Boom. In an instant, he stepped directly from the peak of the War Emperor to the 8th grade War Emperor, condensing the realm in an instant. A strange diamond-shaped stone was gradually integrating into his palm. And this terrifying climbing speed has not stopped at all. The first level of the War Emperor. Intermediate Battle Emperor. War Emperor High Level. The peak of the War Emperor. It's just the Lin family. Chun is enough. It's just the Lin family. Chun is enough. The seemingly innocuous words were like a meteorite falling into the sea, causing violent waves, causing the entire imperial capital to tremble and countless powerful men to turn pale in shock. The Lin family, who were still arrogant and domineering just now, except for Lin Shufeng and Lin Jiuzhou, who were protected by the emperor weapon, but their faces were pale and their bodies were trembling. The rest were forced to kneel on the ground and fainted by the terrifying emperor's power. Bang! Lin Xiao, who was standing at the back, was also suppressed by the terrifying emperor's power at this moment. His legs made crackling sounds, his bones were broken, he knelt down, and his head hit the ground hard. At this moment, his eyes didn't have the resentment and happiness just now, but only endless fear. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. At this moment, even the mysterious ring in his hand fell into deathly silence, and a certain fairy master began to tremble and did not dare to show his face. Snapped. Emperor Jiang, who was in the palace, looked gloomy. The imperial cup in his hand was crushed, and the sharp fragments pierced his palm without even noticing. At this moment, he wished that the Chun family had other backups, and he didn't expect to see the scene in front of him. Jiang Yanhua, who was kneeling outside the palace and wanted to plead for mercy, raised his head and looked stupidly in the direction of the Lin family, with surprise and excitement on his face. Beiyuan, become the emperor. Mother Chen, Bai Ruowei, and Leng Ruobing, who were in the inner courtyard of the Qin family, could not hide the excitement on their faces when they saw the dark scene covering the entire imperial capital and the figure of the demonic flames. Guest building. When the immortal Taoist priest in white saw this scene, he felt chills all over his body, and his eyes were filled with astonishment and a bit of horror. just because the terrifying shadow with the demonic flames looking into the sky glanced at him casually. The dark sky covering the entire imperial capital seemed to have some kind of presence, glancing at him. Not good. An inexplicable power of cause and effect instantly blessed him and began to backfire. The secret calculations that he once had, at this moment, were like a tide, constantly coming towards him. Puff. Become emperor. Become emperor. Chen Beiyuan became emperor. Or step into the pinnacle of emperor realm. What is the concept of an 18-year-old emperor realm peak powerhouse? Mythical power reincarnated. At this moment, all the emperor realm ancestors in the entire imperial city felt their hearts sinking. They were weighed down by a heavy burden and could hardly breathe. Some of the older emperor realm ancestors even looked in a daze, feeling as if they were traveling through time in a special way. The scene today seems a bit familiar. That time and that moment, exactly this moment. Chen Shanha 100 years ago, Chen Beiyuan today. The Chen family is truly blessed. The moment Chen Beiyuan became emperor, all the top prodigies and top monsters in the entire empire were eclipsed and fell into the quagmire. The gap, which was deeper than the sky, almost suppressed their determination to fight, and it broke countless people's invincibility in one fell swoop. I saw the tall figure wearing black clothes, with an evil face, a blood mark on his eyebrows, and demonic flames standing there. But there was no concealment about it, and the terrifying imperial power of endless abyss was overwhelming in everyone's hearts. Boom. The contaminated sky completely turned into night, and what came into view was endless darkness. The entire imperial capital fell directly into darkness. Puff, 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 puff. The spiritual thoughts that were watching here were actually torn apart and swallowed by the overbearing force. Many strong men with weak cultivation couldn't help but spit out blood and suffered heavy soul damage. Although he used the Stone of Divine Transformation to forcibly improve his cultivation to a great level in the next half hour, the cultivation he gained was solid, without any frivolity, but with a deep foundation. Even the condensed Abyss realm is perfect, without any flaws. I have thought about that old lunatic from the Chun family, the one from 100 years ago, and even the other backup men left behind. The only one I haven't thought about is you. Crazy Chun does have a good grandson. The Chilants of my generation in the Lin family are far inferior to you. Although I don't know what methods you use to raise your cultivation level to a great level, but these methods can be called appalling. A faint and cold voice came from the depths of the Lin family. Boom. A terrifying, tyrannical, and powerful imperial power suddenly burst out from the Lin family, immediately offsetting Chen Beiyuan's pressure and directly protecting the entire Lin family. This sudden scene undoubtedly made countless Lin family members secretly sigh in relief. I finally gave it up. Chen Beiyuan nodded, looking at the hook-nosed old man who slowly walked out from the depths of the Lin family compound. A cold smile suddenly appeared on the corner of his mouth. From beginning to end, his target and opponent were not the Lin family members in front of him. It was the old man of the Lin family who had fought with him for many years. Half a step to becoming the strongest. This is a vague realm, half a step above the peak of Emperor Realm. At the same time, it is also the strongest path to the Emperor Realm. The old man of the Lin family looked at Chen Beiyuan in front of him, his face full of solemnity and fear, as well as a hint of murderous intent. The Chen family has Chen Shanha, which is enough to give the Lin family a headache. Now there is another Chen Beiyuan, and his strength and potential far exceed that of Chen Shanha. This is undoubtedly a nightmare in the eyes of countless people. Chen Beiyuan suddenly spoke with undisguised fighting and killing intent. Old Ghost Lin, do you dare to fight in the 9 heavens? Huh. You are an arrogant kid and you don't know the heights of the world. The old man of the Lin family looked cold, and he was obviously irritated by the name Old Ghost Lin. For how many years, except for that old madman Chen Shanha, no one dared to humiliate him like this. Chen Beiyuan is definitely the second person. At this moment, one of them is at the peak of the Emperor Realm, halfway to the top. The momentum and pressure between the two sides is actually tit for tat. Neither one is falling behind. Boom. The next moment, the figures of the two people suddenly disappeared on the spot and appeared in the sky in an instant. Above the sky, the two looked at each other. Chen Beiyuan slowly made a fist and smashed it lightly. The old man of the Lin family opposite him also waved his sleeve casually. Boom. A terrifying demonic fist condensed from the abyss's demonic energy slammed down, and it immediately collided with a behemoth that appeared out of thin air and was covered with ferocious snake scales. The aftermath of it directly exploded the surrounding space. Roar! The huge black snake howled in pain and exploded. A large amount of venom suddenly covered the abyss devil's hand, and its terrifying poison melted most of it in an instant. Even the surrounding space was melted into pits and hollows by the terrifying poison. But the remaining abyss fists still didn't stop, hitting the old man of the Lin family, whose expression changed slightly. Bang! Old Ghost Lin was actually knocked back half a step from the front. Such a horrific aftermath of the battle. If it were placed in the imperial capital, I'm afraid it wouldn't be able to blow up the entire imperial capital. However, this is just a gradual trial attack by both sides. We haven't had a real fight with each other yet. What a terrifying demonic energy. What kind of demonic power is this that is so powerful and terrifying? The pressure it puts on me is countless times more terrifying than that of Madman Qin back then. This is not the heavenly demon kung fu passed down by the Qin family at all, but a more terrifying demonic kung fu. After Old Ghost Lin was directly questioned and repelled half a step away, his gloomy old face suddenly sank, and he actually felt an overwhelming and terrifying pressure coming on him. As a half-strength person, he was actually repelled by a junior in full view of everyone as soon as he made a move. Such behavior was not just a naked slap in the face. More importantly, the terrifying strength displayed by Chen Beiyuan seemed to be beyond his expectation. Chen Beiyuan looked at Old Ghost Lin's uncertain old face with an evil smile on his lips and slowly raised his hand again. Old Ghost Lin, if you only have this ability, then I'm afraid you'll be beaten to death by me. As soon as he finished speaking, the heavenly demon flames swept across the world, carrying a terrifying taboo pressure, directly crushing all directions. Even Old Ghost Lin's arrogance at this moment was directly suppressed. Arrogant. Seeing how arrogant Chen Beiyuan was, Old Ghost Lin couldn't hold back his anger. I'm really afraid of you. Boom. Accompanied by a terrifying demonic aura condensed from his body. The originally shriveled and skinny body unexpectedly expanded crazily, growing scales, horns, and four-clawed arms, transforming into a terrifying giant monster that looked like a snake or a dragon. The Lin family is a family of demons, and the Xianin Demon Transformation Sutra, passed down by their family, is to transform one's own body into a demon body and condense the body of a demon. At this moment, Lin Ruobing, who revealed his demon body, suddenly brought his demon domain to the extreme. The already huge demon body actually expanded dozens or hundreds of times again, almost like a terrifying giant standing tall on the sky and the earth. Demon. What is Emperor Realm is to condense the realm that suits oneself. With the blessing of the realm, one can exert extraordinary and terrifying combat power. At this moment, Old Ghost Lin was obviously very angry. Roar. A terrifying demonic claw that covered the sky crashed down from the clouds and headed towards Chen Beiyuan. Death to me. He was actually able to knock back Mr. Lin half a step head-on. This guy is so terrifying. Dig, what kind of monster is that? Isn't it bigger than a mountain? With one claw, even a majestic mountain will be smashed into powder. The old man of the Lin family was really angry. He actually manifested the body of a demon, and with the blessing of the Emperor Realm, his body was strengthened at least dozens of times. The power of this attack, even an ordinary human race, even the strongest ones dare not face the enemy head-on. The Lin family's demon body is an extremely domineering existence in the Donghua Empire. It is even more terrifying than the Zhu family, which is known for its physical strength. Chen Beiyuan is in trouble. As a terrifying existence of the older generation, Old Ghost Lin has been able to fight against Madman Chen for many years. How can it be that simple? Seeing Chen Beiyuan and Lin Ruobing gradually starting to make real fire, The ancestors of the major families in the entire imperial capital also appeared one after another, paying attention to this unprecedented battle. However, compared to the rising star Chen Beiyuan, the ancestors of various families are obviously more inclined to the old man of the Lin family. As contemporaries, they clearly understood how terrifying old ghost Lin was. In the entire Donghua Empire, there are only 2.5 spots for the most powerful human race, and the Lin family's old man occupies that half. It is truly the third in the Donghua Empire. Compared to this, Chen Beiyuan is a bit immature. But what happened next shocked everyone on the spot. He's crazy. Boom. I saw, in front of everyone, the terrifying great monster claws were heading towards Chen Beiyuan from the clouds and mist. The terrifying monster chi instantly blocked the surrounding space, forcing Chen Beiyuan to avoid it. He could only resist this blow. If it had been before he had obtained the Abyss Forbidden Code, Chen Beiyuan would probably have chosen the Blood Dragon transformation at this time to strengthen his body and go head-to-head. But now, he has a better way of coping. I saw him slightly nodding, without changing his expression. He didn't dodge at all, let alone mobilize any demonic energy. Instead, under the astonished eyes of countless people, he slowly raised his right hand, which was as white as jade, and actually wanted to catch it with his bare hands. That terrifying demonic claw that covers the sky and the sun. This scene undoubtedly shocked everyone. Even the snake-like and dragon-like demonic face of old ghost Lin showed a cold smile, seeming to be mocking his overestimation of his abilities. Even the power of the demonic claws that fell down could not help but become a little stronger, as if he looked like he was about to smash the meat out of it. But the next time, the ugly demon face froze instantly. This is impossible. The moment his terrifying demonic claws fell, all the terrifying power impact was instantly absorbed by a strange devouring force, and he stood frozen in midair. In the eyes of countless people, Chen Beiyuan's jade-like right hand easily blocked the claws of the great monster that were more than 10 million times larger than himself. The impact of this scene is no less powerful than that of an ordinary human being falling from the sky with one hand, blocking an extraterrestrial meteorite that is enough to destroy a continent. What was able to cause such a terrifying scene was the abyss demonic body that Chen Beiyuan had developed in the Forest of Mist, which was capable of absorbing, plundering, and releasing all special energies. Is that the only extent? Chen Beiyuan nodded, with a hint of disappointment on his face, and his figure suddenly flashed and disappeared. When old ghost Lin reacted, a tiny figure in black suddenly appeared in front of him. He slowly stretched out his jade-like right hand and pressed against his scaly, snake-like, and dragon-like great monster. On the skull, a dark, abyss black hole suddenly appeared in the palm of the jade-like right hand, and the terrifying impact that had been absorbed just erupted directly at this moment. Roar. At the same time, a ferocious roar of an evil beast suddenly appeared in his body. In an instant, the terrifying impact returned from the palm of his right hand was suddenly heightened tenfold. Not good. The expression on the huge demon's face suddenly changed, and he instantly felt a terrifying threat. But when he wanted to react, it was too late. Boom! A terrifying impact suddenly erupted in the sky, like a muffled thunder that resounded across the sky, almost scattering the dark clouds. Lin Laogui's great monster body, which was even bigger than its mountain, was as if it was hit head-on by a huge cannonball. It was sent flying directly, and the clear sound of broken bones could still be heard vaguely. I said, if that's all you can do, then just wait to be beaten to death by me. Seeing that old ghost Lin had been suppressed by Chen Beiyuan from the beginning, he had almost no power to fight back. After that, he was knocked away hundreds of miles away by a single blow. From beginning to end, Chen Beiyuan showed an almost invincible state. While talking and laughing, he exudes a peerless style that will last forever. In an instant, the ancestors of every family in the entire imperial capital fell into a dead silence, as if they were watching a mythical story. As the third largest person in the empire, old ghost Lin actually allowed an 18-year-old boy to be beaten head-on until he was unable to fight back. This is no longer a joke. This simply refreshes our understanding. Most of the Lin family members below were pale, and the pride they had built up by continuously defeating the Chen family was instantly shattered. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. How could the ancestor lose? How could he lose? Fake. It must be fake. One by one, the 3 generations of the Lin family began to cry out sadly, obviously in disbelief and unable to accept it. Lin Xiao, who was at the very back, was sluggish at the moment. He couldn't even feel the severe pain in his body or the pain of his broken knee. He just stared blankly at the black robe that was as dazzling as a god on the sky. The figure just felt like a joke. In vain did he want to compare with him again and again. In vain did he think that he could catch up with the opponent's pace. In vain, he thought that without the Chen family, it would be useless. Now it seems that I am like a rat in the sewer, sitting in a well and looking at the sky. I can't see how high the sky is. At this moment, only Lin Shufeng, the head of the Lin family, looked ugly, but he was not as full of despair as the others. At this moment, a clear vibration swept across instantly, attracting the attention of many people. The first group army, which was originally blocked dozens of miles away, actually penetrated the entire first theater of the empire and headed directly towards Kyoto. Faintly, the shouts and jokes of the lunatics from the first army began to appear around the gate of the imperial capital. Imperial Palace, Wuji Hall. That good-for-nothing Chen Beiyuan mobilized the entire war zone, and even with a nearly 10-fold strength gap, he couldn't even defeat a group army. Doesn't he want his head? Move half of the Imperial Palace's Imperial Army out, and be sure to keep all those lunatics out of the capital and not allowed to enter the capital. Jiang Huang, who was already disturbed by the peerless figure in the Xianjing, saw the entire first battle area defeated and failed to stop the target, and became even more angry. The Imperial Palace's Imperial Guards are the elite of the Jiang family, but except in extraordinary times, they are rarely mobilized easily. After all, their greatest function is to protect the safety of his emperor. Chen family. Bai Ruowei frowned slightly, looking at the battle in the sky, but she just felt a little weird. In her impression, Beiyuan was not the kind of person who liked talking nonsense and procrastinating. More often than not, he was ruthless and decisive, eradicating the root causes. At this time, you can take advantage of the victory and pursue it. Could it be that he is stalling for time? Or is he hiding something? Just as Bai Ruowei was thinking, she suddenly noticed that beside her, Mother Chen, who had always looked sad before, now felt inexplicably calm. For a moment, she felt as if some kind of lightning flashed in her mind, but before she could react, she was interrupted by a sudden change in the sky. Jia, Chen family boy, you have successfully angered me. You originally planned to save this skill to deal with crazy Chen. In this case, let you know how powerful I am. A cold and vicious hoarse voice suddenly resounded from the sky, instantly attracting everyone's attention. I saw that old ghost Lin, who had been knocked out, suddenly returned, exuding a thick scarlet monster chi, and his aura began to surge wildly, as if he had been untied. Although the terrifying giant monster's body did not continue to expand, but shrank a little, it had a terrifying texture of solidification and compression. A scarlet demon dragon fighting spirit surged out of his body and let out a thunderous dragon roar. Celestial beast sealing technique. Solution. Boom. In an instant, old ghost Lin's arrogance and pressure, which was supposed to be only half-step to the strongest level, actually skyrocketed. In an instant, he crossed the threshold and directly stepped into the realm of the strongest level in the human race. The pressure on him was more than 10 times, dozens of times stronger than before. At this moment, he seemed to have become the third strongest human race person in the Donghua Empire, directly on the same level as Mr. Chen. At this moment, the faces of the ancestors watching the battle below all showed drastic changes. Human race is the strongest? That guy Lin Laogui actually hid his cultivation. The weight of a human race supreme being is beyond what ordinary people can imagine. What it means to be the strongest of the human race is that they have reached the limit of the Emperor realm and are almost only one step away from the divine realm. Looking at the entire human race alliance, the number of the strongest human race people is less than 20. These people are the strongest of the human race and the strongest foundation of the entire human race. When Rukishi Ito, the strongest man in Sakura Kingdom, fell, there was already a lot of curses within the human race alliance. However, the person who really took action was Chen Shanha, and the sanctions from the human race alliance had already arrived. Okay, now, the Qin family boy will definitely be defeated. The ancestor of the Qin family showed a look of joy and excitement on his face. As an in-law of the Lin family, he was naturally more willing to see the strength of his old family. But the kind-hearted ancestor of the Bai family changed his face slightly at this moment, couldn't help but clenched his fists, and his eyes showed a trace of worry. Half-step to the strongest and human race to the strongest are almost two different concepts. After all, Chen Beiyuan is only at the peak of Emperor realm, and there is still a big gap between him and that realm. But compared to the shock of the others, at this moment, Chen Beiyuan looked indifferent, as if he already knew everything. This expression was undoubtedly very dazzling in old Ghost Lin's eyes. Damn boy, shouldn't you be shocked, scared, and uneasy at this time? Who are you trying to show that calm face to? I really want to tear that face of yours into pieces. And Chen Beiyuan's next words made him break through his defense instantly. A breakthrough is a breakthrough. You have to play with ceiling cultivation, pretend to be a pig and eat the tiger, and try to trick people secretly. No wonder the old man always tells me that you always like to hide things, like an old woman. It's hard to become successful in your lifetime. What did you say? The old Ghost Lin, who was still a little complacent at first, broke his guard in an instant. The ugly demon face wrinkled into a wrinkle in an instant, and his face was ferocious, and his eyes seemed to be burning with fire. His defense breaking is not just Chen Beiyuan's almost descriptive attitude. What's more, Madman Chen's demeaning and humiliating comments about him. Hide it and tuck it in, like an old woman. It's hard to become successful in your lifetime. Thinking back then, the woman he had a crush on fell in love with that unreasonable B************** D again and again, and never even glanced at him. I think back then, he challenged the opponent again and again, but even if he was just a little bit short, he finally lost. No matter how hard he worked hard and opportunities came, he was always just a little bit short. As an old rival who has been in tit-for-tat for many years, he has always played the role of loser. Old Ghost Lin's resentment towards Madman Chen was already uncontrollable. He always wanted to defeat him and regarded him as his goal. This has almost become his obsession. For this reason, even though he broke through to the strongest level of the human race a long time ago, he never revealed it, but chose to seal it. I just want to give the other party a big surprise one day. Even during the previous war in Sakura country, he had no intention of showing it off. As a result, he turned out to be a clown in the eyes of the other party. What's even more embarrassing is that Crazy Chen seems to have known about his breakthrough for a long time, and he dared to tell his grandson. How dare he? How dare he? Fire Thunder G. Bang. Seeing that old Ghost Lin had broken his guard and was in an unstable state of mind, Chen Beiyuan had no intention of getting used to it, so he grasped it with his right palm. Boom. The terrifying lion head condensed by the flames and thunder suddenly bites towards old Ghost Lin. The terrifying flames merge with the destructive thunder and suddenly erupt, forming an unimaginable terrifying speed. When old Ghost Lin came to his senses, the fire thunder lion had almost attacked him. The terrifying power instantly made old Ghost Lin feel a creeping sense of danger. How can this be? He has broken the seal and been promoted to the strongest of the human race. He is dozens of times stronger than he was just now. How can he still feel this way? Boom. The terrifying fire and thunder exploded instantly, sending the terrifying monster flying directly. A strong smell of burnt meat suddenly filled the air, and black charcoal ashes flew in the air. The hideous claws of the terrifying celestial beast transformed by old Ghost Lin were directly carbonized, turned into ashes, and fluttered in the wind. At first glance, it looked extremely embarrassed without its claws. A mere boy from the Chun family who is from the northern generation can actually turn against the will of heaven. Old Ghost Lin, who suffered severe pain from his broken arm, suddenly let out an angry roar. The blood of celestial beast originating from the body begins to boil, and the ferocity and madness of monster race gradually permeates the bones, covering up rationality. Flesh sprouts began to grow from the blasted claws, and monster race's innate and terrifying resilience was fully demonstrated at this moment. "Come out, my demon's servant." The muscular demon arm suddenly smashed out of thin air, and a large formation with ancient beast inscriptions appeared out of thin air. Roar, roar, roar. A group of hideous and terrifying monsters slowly emerged from the formation, letting out a terrifying roar. Among these monsters, there are several terrifying beings that exude the pressure of the Emperor level. Among them, the largest monster was a strange-looking Tengu, exuding the terrifying aura of the Emperor Realm's peak. This strange Tengu is surprisingly the ancestor of the Fujiki family in Sakura Country, which is said to have the great monster bloodline. Since the last war in Sakura Country, old Ghost Lin had been eyeing it, captured it, and used its body to transform it into his demon servant. And these demon servants are also one of old Ghost Lin's biggest trump cards. Seeing such a terrifying demon army appear, the expressions of the ancestors below also changed. Lin Ruobing obviously felt threatened by Chen Beiyuan and became desperate. This made it clear that it was coming for real. Swish! A giant halberd exuding terrifying monster chi suddenly appeared in Lin Ruobing's hand, and the pressure of the top emperor weapon was instantly revealed. Die! A halberd was swung out, and the slash condensed by the scarlet monster chi attacked Chen Beiyuan. All the monsters followed closely behind. The group of monsters danced wildly, and the monster chi soared into the sky. This is just a bit interesting. Chen Beiyuan's dark eyes flashed, and a stern smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Although he had just transferred to the Abyss Forbidden Code not long ago, but with the blessing of the Divine Transformation Stone, at this moment, he seemed not to be afraid of any powerful person in this world. In the entire Donghua Empire, only his old man and the one in the palace could make him face it. The rest are just local chickens and dogs. At most, it's just a little more trouble. Although he has not yet grown into the complete form of Chun Laoma in the original work, he seems to have some peerless charm. The dense fog suddenly spread and spread quickly, covering the entire sky. Together with Lin Ruobing and Chen Beiyuan, they also swallowed it, covering up the ensuing battle. I saw him slowly raising his right hand, turning his fingers into a knife, slashing it between his eyebrows, and immediately chopped out the good corpse with his transformation of Heavenly Demon Three Corpses technique. Xianzong, I leave those monsters to you to deal with. Umitba, good. Xianzong looked at the dancing monsters that were attacking and killing him kindly, with a compassionate smile on his face. In an instant, the Buddha's light shone, covering the heaven and earth, and the giant Buddha descended and subdued the demons. And Chen Beiyuan also faced old Ghost Lin head-on. Boom! Ouch! Not long after the mist of confusion appeared, old Ghost Lin's painful howl could be heard. Cho! The ancestors of various families who had been watching the battle saw the sudden white mist covering the sky and blocking everyone's sight. Even the spiritual thoughts could not penetrate and could only be blocked out, which immediately made him angry and cursed. Next is the most exciting, and superb moment of the plot, and you actually coded it. It's better to fight the whole situation, not just one part. You can't even see a hair, so let me judge the intensity of the battle by listening to the sound, right? This touches the bottom line of many people. But before the curses from many people could continue, old Ghost Lin's painful howl resounded from the sky, causing the expressions of everyone watching to change. Boom! A huge roar resounded. A huge figure with mutilated flesh and blood suddenly fell from the white mist, like a meteor, falling towards the imperial capital. Its breath became extremely weak, almost only its last breath remained. Although the whole picture was not seen, the powerful people in the entire imperial capital recognized its identity in an instant. It is the old man of the Lin family. It failed. Old Ghost Lin was defeated. The third strongest man in the Donghua Empire actually lost. Chen Beiyuan actually defeated a human race master head-on. In an instant, the entire imperial capital fell into deathly silence. The strong men in the entire imperial capital looked at the hazy white mist under the dark sky, as if they were seeing gods. An 18-year-old boy actually defeated a transcendent-level expert who had been in the Empire for hundreds of years and whose strength had most likely reached the top 20 in the entire human race. What is this concept? Even mythical legends are not so exaggerated. And when old Ghost Lin was defeated, all the previous conspiracies against the Chen family undoubtedly became rootless water and were destined to be in vain. At the same time, the ambitions of careerists hidden in the dark will undoubtedly receive a devastating blow and disappear completely. The Qin family ancestor's face suddenly turned gloomy, and there was a hint of panic in his eyes. The ancestor of the Bai family has regained his kind smile, and his eyes are looking at the ancestor of the Qin family from time to time. Boom. As the heavy object fell, a huge pit instantly appeared in front of the Lin family's gate, and traces of cracks spread in all directions, exuding awe. Many Lin family members who had no time to dodge were instantly knocked out by the terrifying impact and suffered serious injuries. Only a few strong men from the Lin family reacted quickly. When dodging, they also activated the Lin family's family formation in time to help withstand part of the impact. Bang! I saw an old man with a hooked nose appearing in the pit. Surprisingly, it was old Ghost Lin. At this moment, he was extremely miserable compared to when he appeared before. Not only was he more than half lighter, but he was also missing an arm. Fortunately, Lin Ruobing could hardly maintain his celestial beast form when he fell. Otherwise, the size of the celestial beast, which is many times larger than the mountains, coupled with the impact of falling from the sky, is probably enough to level the entire Lin family, as well as half of the surrounding imperial capital. Old Patriarch, Old Patriarch, Old Patriarch. The Lin family members who reacted immediately looked at old Ghost Lin in the pit in panic, their faces pale, and they hurriedly tried to rush over. Among them, Lin Shufeng, the head of the Lin family, and Lin Jiuzhou, the young head of the Lin family, had the most anxious and ugly faces. However, at this moment, the white mist in the sky quickly faded, and a dark figure holding a huge halberd floated down, heading in the direction of the Lin family. I saw that Chen Beiyuan's breath was calm, and the sleeves on his body only had a few inconspicuous cracks. There is a slight crack on the chest, and the abyss inner armor, worn inside, is vaguely visible. Seeing this scene, the emperor-level experts from all the major families in the entire imperial capital had different expressions, and their eyes were changing. They wouldn't be too surprised if Chen Beiyuan suffered injuries of varying severity at this moment. But the problem is, Chen Beiyuan doesn't have any injuries at all now, just a few insignificant cracks in his clothes. This means that from beginning to end, old Ghost Lin, the most powerful person of the Lin family, never really hurt the opponent. The gap between the two sides is almost impossible to bridge. Snapped. Chen Beiyuan stood still and down to earth, standing outside the door of Lin's house, overlooking old Ghost Lin in the pit in front of him. His eyes were calm, and the power in his hand gradually increased, and he suddenly squeezed the top emperor weapon, the celestial beast halberd, with a clanging sound, forcibly erasing the spiritual mark inside, turning it into an ownerless thing, and throwing it into the system space. Puff! Old Ghost Lin, who had been severely injured, suddenly felt a sharp pain in his soul, and suddenly felt that he had completely lost contact with his life, emperor weapon. I have said before that I am enough for the Lin family. Chen Beiyuan stood with his hands behind his hands, his eyes calm, and he spoke calmly. This scene immediately chilled the entire Lin family, and only a handful of people could maintain their persistence. Among them, Lin Jiuzhou, an imperial prodigy who was once as famous as Chen Beiyuan. Chen Beiyuan, that's enough. Even if our Lin family is defeated, you can't humiliate us like this. Shut up. Old Ghost Lin, who was lying in the pit, suddenly shouted, interrupting his grandson's words. The skinny body was lifted up little by little, staring straight at the black-clothed young man in front of him. Boy of the Qin family, my Lin family has failed this time. I, the Lin family, admit defeat and tell you, conditions. If you want to take this opportunity to destroy my Lin family, then you are just wishful thinking. Our Lin family has been passed down for thousands of years, and we have been fighting with your Chen family for so many years. Naturally, we have a secret that has been passed down. Although we may not be able to save our lives, we can definitely bring people together. Perish together. Chen Beiyuan looked at old ghost Lin, who seemed to be pretending in front of him, but he knew that what he said was true. Almost none of those aristocratic families that have been passed down for thousands of years are simple. Don't look at the fact that the Lin family today is only one step away from annihilation, but in fact it is indeed very different. Having read the original work, he naturally knew what the Lin family's ultimate trump card was. In a secret realm inside the Lin family, there is a real celestial beast corpse hidden. The heads of the Lin family in the past generations would moisten this celestial beast corpse with their own essence and blood before dying. At the critical moment, the Lin family can forcefully awaken this celestial beast corpse through blood sacrifice and destroy all living creatures in sight. He is definitely a difficult guy, many times more difficult than old ghost Lin. Once that thing wakes up, I'm afraid the entire imperial capital will be destroyed. Even Chen Laoma in the original work had a headache with this object before he entered the divine realm, and it required a lot of effort. This is the fundamental reason why top aristocratic families are afraid of each other and dare not completely break up with each other. Who knows what trump card the other party has secretly? At this moment, Chen Beiyuan has the blessing of the magic stone, so he is not afraid of the celestial beast corpse. But now, there is not much time left before the magic transformation. However, from beginning to end, he never planned to easily destroy the Lin family in one fell swoop. After all, his plan has just begun. Now, it's just a matter of calculating some interest. Chen Beiyuan slowly stretched out his hand, raised an index finger, and said slowly, "The first condition is that if you do something wrong, you will naturally have to pay the corresponding price. If your Lin family wants my Chen family's third war zone, then I will want your Lin family's fourth and fifth war zones. You want to take away half of the military power of my Lin family." Old ghost Lin's pupils shrank, but there was no big surprise on his face. Instead, there was an inexplicable mocking smile. Your Chen family holds half of the military power of the empire, and now you want to take away half of the military power of my Lin family. Even if I agree, will the royal family agree? Who in the palace will agree? You think the Jiang family is dead. But facing that mocking gaze, Chen Beiyuan remained calm, and an inexplicable smile even began to appear at the corner of his mouth. I not only want to take away the military power from your Lin family, but also from the Jiang family. What did you say? Lin Laogui's eyes trembled, and his expression changed suddenly, as if he realized something from Chen Beiyuan's strange attitude. The reason why he was so confident was that the Lin family had a final trump card that could destroy both sides at critical moments. There is another huge factor, which is because of the existence of the royal family Jiang. The Chen family, which holds half of the military power in its hands, is enough to start mutinies at any time in various parts of the empire and uproot the local imperial power. It is already huge and scary enough. What if the Chen family takes over the Lin family's military power again? If that thing is strengthened, how arrogant and domineering will the Chen family be? At that time, the Jiang family will still have to look at the Chen family's face. Is this empire's surname Chen or Jiang? Is it possible that the Chun-Jiang dynasty is just like the Chun-Jiang dynasty circulated privately among the common people, with Chen on top of Jiang? In this case, as the royal family, the Jiang family will inevitably end up as a referee, interfering in the conflict between Chen and Lin's two top families, and will inevitably stand on the side of the weak Lin family and try to sideline. But now, Chen Beiyuan's attitude seems to have already guessed this. Not only did he want to beat the Lin family, he was also prepared to do it with the referee who was offending him. The rest of the Lin family had not yet reacted and noticed the special charm contained in it. Only a few smart people reacted immediately and realized the seriousness of it. Imperial Palace, Wuji Hall. Snapped. Just when the battle between the Chen and Lin families came to an end, Jiang Yanhua, who was kneeling outside, suddenly heard the sound of things hitting the ground and mirrors breaking inside the hall. Waste. Obviously, the result of the battle in the imperial capital made the emperor in the main hall very unhappy. This result undoubtedly made the original situation completely out of control. Bang! The hall door suddenly opened. Tread, tread, tread. Before Jiang Yinhua could react, a tall figure exuding imperial pressure and a gloomy expression walked past her. Behind him, there were several eunuchs and royal worshippers following closely behind. Father, Jiang Yinhua shouted subconsciously. However, from beginning to end, Emperor Jiang did not even look at his daughter who was kneeling on the ground and simply ignored her. And the direction he was going was surprisingly the direction of a small courtyard somewhere deep in the palace. Just as Lin Laogui expected, the moment the Lin family lost. Maybe the rest of the little people will choose to watch the show and wait and see. But as the eldest brother of the empire, the royal family Jiang family would definitely not do it, and he would definitely intervene. A half-dead Chen family is in the interest of the empire. Donghua University, Principal's Office. You have grown to this point in just over half a year. Such a terrifying growth rate is already inhuman. Now you have defeated that old monster from the Lin family. Chen Beiyuan, who are you? Could it be that you are really an ancient being? Mighty reincarnation. But the mythical in this world has long since disappeared, and the immortals and gods no longer appear. So how could it still be like this? Or are the rumors of the 10,000 years catastrophe true? Jiang Bai frowned and looked out the window with a complex expression, obviously seeing the result of this battle. Outside, countless Donghua students cheered and cheered from the bottom of their hearts, resounding throughout the entire school. In addition to being the young master of the Chen family, Chen Beiyuan also has the status of the chief of the school. In a sense, he is also a member of Donghua Academy. At this moment, even though he was the prince of the empire and the principal of Donghua Academy, he could not suppress the excitement in his heart. His eyes paused, and he subconsciously looked at the sofa opposite, as if remembering some response. Half a year ago, the young boy who still had to behave and be respectful in front of him had changed very quickly and reached the point where he is today. It is no exaggeration to say that things change every day. After this station, Chen Beiyuan's name is destined to resound throughout the human race, all human empires and kingdoms, and become the object of controversy for countless people. The other party already has the qualifications to stand at the top of the world. Since the establishment of the entire Donghua Academy, no one has been able to achieve such an achievement. In terms of achievements alone, it is enough to leave a heavy mark in the history of the entire college. A secret divine thought suddenly flashed through the prince's token at his waist, conveying some kind of encrypted special message. Jiang Bai, who was still feeling emotional, suddenly lost his expression and immediately turned into a touch of indifference. All unnecessary emotions were cut off, and all that was left was pure reason. Chen Beiyuan, your existence may be a good thing for the empire, but for the royal family, it may not be. It is difficult for you and me to agree on our positions. In that case, let me teach you the last lesson. Bang! Jiang Bai stood up slowly, opened the office door, and walked outside. I saw that at some point, there was a dark, mysterious tower with a totem of a ferocious beast and alien race in his hand. It was the Soul Beast Tower with Yag-Yer, residual soul. With his current abnormal behavior, he must not be doing anything good. Just when Jiang Bai was about to leave Donghua Academy, he paused. His expression changed slightly, and he stared at the middle-aged figure who suddenly appeared in front of him and blocked the way, full of disbelief. Where do you want to go, Brother Jiang? At this time, it's better not to move around, as it can easily cause misunderstanding. The middle-aged man had a gentle smile on his face, as if he were seeing an old friend, and he said hello in a friendly manner. Chen Zhiqing, you are not dead. Boom. The terrifying emperor-level demonic power suddenly erupted, sweeping across the entire Donghua Academy. Deep Palace. In the end, I have to come out and clean up this mess. There was a trace of dissatisfaction in the cloudy eyes of the old farmer, under the bamboo hat of the old farmer, wearing simple cloth. He put down the hoe in his hand, washed his rough palms full of mud in the water tank beside him, and then walked to Emperor Jiang, who was standing beside him. His wet palms were casually wiped on the emperor's robe, just like an old farmer in the countryside wiping his hands with a rag. After the old farmer left, Emperor Jiang, who was standing there, looked at the emperor's clothes that were wet and stained with dirt and remained silent, but his hands under the sleeves couldn't help but clench tightly. Outside the palace, the old farmer in simple cloth walked along, and everyone in the palace seemed to be unable to see his presence and ignored him. Even people walking in front of him would suddenly avoid him, as if they were affected by some kind of rule. But just when he was about to step out of the palace, he suddenly heard a violent cough. Cough, 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 cough. The smile on the old peasant's face paused, and he suddenly looked forward, only to see an old man with white hair and black clothes sitting at a tea stall, covering his chest and coughing wildly. The old man's face looked slightly pale, as if he had lost energy and blood and was injured. Next to him, there was a huge black coffin. Chen family, inner courtyard. No, the Jiang family will definitely intervene. Bai Ruowei was still immersed in the excitement and joy of Beiyuan defeating the old man of the Lin family. But being naturally intelligent and possessing Bai Zai's precognitive ability, she soon realized the danger, and the Jiang family, as a member of the royal family, would inevitably intervene. At that time, Beiyuan is afraid that it will be attacked from both sides. At that time, it will inevitably be in a dilemma, and the current good situation may even be completely lost. But before she could feel worried, a terrifying emperor-level demonic power suddenly broke out in Donghua Academy, instantly sweeping across the entire imperial capital and attracting the attention of countless people. That is, Bai Ruowei and Leng Ruobing's expressions changed dramatically, and they instantly realized that the terrifying demonic power was mixed with some familiar aura. But before the two of them could react, Mother Chen, who had been silent beside her, suddenly trembled and cried with joy, but also gritted her teeth. You be asterisk 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 D. I know you are not dead. You are just as bad as when you were young. You like to pretend to be dead and hide in the dark, and then suddenly pop out to scare people. You will know when this is over when you come back. If I don't take advantage of you, you are considered a great person. Why are you hiding from me? No one in the family, old, big or small, has anything to worry about. Seeing Chen's mother suddenly yelling, she looked completely different from the weak look she had before. Bai Ruowei and Leng Ruobing were obviously confused. Why does it feel like everyone is acting and they are the only ones being acted? Chen Zhiqing became emperor? Such a powerful demonic thought. Such a demonic thought has definitely not just been broken through. It must have been a breakthrough for some time. He is not dead at all, but hiding. Those things before were all a cover-up. That's the direction of Donghua Academy. Zhangbai is blocked. The three emperors of the Chen family. So terrifying. The ancestors of every family in the imperial capital are almost all old foxes, and they are extremely sensitive to the slightest movement. When the familiar yet unfamiliar emperor-level magic power appeared in Donghua Academy, everything was instantly understood. However, compared to those little fights at Donghua University, outside the Donghua Palace, just a hint of the extremely oppressive and terrifying pressure of the most powerful people made these old foxes stand on end, and their expressions changed dramatically. The terrifying aura made them instantly think of an old lunatic who liked to hammer people. The Jiang family is blocked. In an instant, this incredible message filled everyone's hearts. Che, the Chen family is in such a precarious state that it is clearly a trap. 3 generations of the Chen family actually came. The Lin family was so stubborn that they just stepped inside. Are you going to die? Outside the palace. There's something wrong, old man said. It turns out that the reason why that kid created such a big battle in the sky to attract everyone's attention is to cover up your aura and help you enter the capital quietly. The old peasant in civilian clothes looked at the dark clouds in the sky, and his eyes paused in the direction of Donghua University. Then, he slowly looked at the old man in black in front of him. His face seemed to be suddenly enlightened. You spent a lot of money, and you didn't even defend the base camp. You just sneaked to Kyoto. Why are you not afraid that those guys will take the opportunity to capture the entire ancestral land and seize it directly? Ahem, cough, cough, take it and fight back. Winning or losing is just once. However, It seems that there are not many opportunities to seize power head-on this time. My grandson personally laid the plan. As an elder, you must support it. The old man in black, no, it should be Mr. Chun, coughed violently again. Although he looked weak, his voice was very loud, giving people an inexplicable sense of oppression. After coughing, the old man slowly raised his head and stared straight at the old peasant in front of him. A fierce look appeared on his slightly old and handsome face. You'd better stay in the palace and dare to take a step. I can't guarantee that I won't be able to resist beating you to death. Just because you are a sick tiger now. There was a hint of sarcasm on the face of the commoner. If the other party was at its peak, he would still be wary of it. But now, it was obvious that he was injured. The previous siege by the three most powerful ferocious beasts on the northern front was not false. You can try. Mr. Chen slowly stood up, his tall body instantly filled with an oppressive and terrifying power, like an ancient demon god about to unlock his seal. Click! The huge, upright, dark coffin suddenly trembled, as if there was a slight movement. The commoner farmer's eyes narrowed, and he couldn't help but pause for a moment in the huge, dark coffin. In his terrifying perception, Chun Shanha's huge, dark coffin seemed to be empty. But the question is, will this old madman really bring an empty coffin? After all, it's really empty inside. It's just a bluff to scare people. Or should I say, the contents of the coffin have already come out. But he didn't notice. Do you really want to take action? The commoner's brows were almost furrowed into knots, and his eyes were uncertain as he switched back and forth between the old madman and the dark coffin in front of him, as if he was hesitating about something. That's it. The almost wrinkled knot on his brow slowly loosened, the sarcasm on his face gradually dissipated, and he regained his composure. He glanced in the direction of the Lin family and sighed. The tiger roars in the valley, and all the beasts are terrified. To have such domineering methods at such a young age is truly extraordinary. I just don't know how long your sick tiger can protect him. Lin. Chen Beiyuan stood there, seemingly unaware of the prying eyes just now, but the gentle smile on his face was inexplicably colder. He looked straight at old ghost Lin in the pit without saying a word. In the deep pit, old ghost Lin, as the strongest human race man, had obviously noticed the gaze just now, and even sensed the auras of Chun Zhiqing and his old rival, combined with the fact that the support from the Jiang family had not come yet. How can we not know what happened? The Jiang family will not come. He looked at Chen Beiyuan in front of him in disbelief, as if he was seeing a monster as smart as a monster, and a sad smile gradually appeared on his face. You can actually plan this far? With such a careful plan, your real target at the beginning was not the Lin family, but the Jiang family. Those things before were all the idea of the palace man, and I, the Lin family, just happened to meet it. Old ghost Lin suddenly thought of something, and his face became extremely ugly. He suppressed the throbbing and anger in his heart and asked aloud. The Chen family had been having troubles one after another before, and anyone with a discerning eye could tell that it must be related to a certain mastermind behind the scenes. And Chen Beiyuan planned it like this and carried out crazy revenge. Naturally, the true identity of the mastermind behind the scenes was exposed, and he was the one in the palace. In this situation, the Lin family entered the situation out of greed. However, if the Lin family did not enter the situation, but just waited and watched, they would never end up in this situation. There is even a small opportunity to gain some benefits. It's not much different. It's just an old score with the Jiang family. However, since the Lin family also wants to get involved, let's settle it together. Chen Beiyuan nodded. The smile on his face remained the same, and his voice was gentle, but it carried a domineering aura that swept the world. And he also has domineering capital. This time, the Chen family fought on two fronts, perfectly displaying a strong one-on-two image in front of the major families in the entire imperial capital, defeating the Jiang family, the eldest brother of the empire, and the Lin family, the second eldest brother in the military. With such a record, who in the entire Donghua Empire can do it? No, not to mention the entire Donghua. Even within the entire human race, who can do it? It is conceivable that after this incident, when the Chun family's record of stepping on the Jiang family and the Lin family spread throughout the human race, how much uproar it will cause. The Chen family's fame will reach an unimaginable level. Originally, Chen Beiyuan's plan was not so crazy at the beginning, but the Jiang family's sudden attack caught the Chen family off guard. If this is the case, then he will use his plan to have a fight with the Jiang family. By the way, even the Lin family was dragged into the water. Of course, no matter whether the Lin family ends up in the end or not, a severe beating is inevitable. How can there be a fight between two tigers and a poisonous snake watching the show in secret? Chuh! At this moment, even the stupid Lin family members understood that they clearly did not take them seriously. If it weren't for the fact that he was inferior to others, someone at the scene would probably have yelled loudly. The old man of the Lin family is a tycoon of his generation. After living for so many years, he can still afford to lose. Okay, I understand. This time the Lin family admits defeat. The Lin family's 2 war zones can be handed over to the Chen family. Are you satisfied? Wrong. The Lin family's 2 war zones are only temporarily taken over by the Chen family. They will be returned to the Lin family when there is an opportunity in the future. Chen Beiyuan interrupted old Ghost Lin's words, ignored the looks of the Lin family members who were present with livid faces and angry eyes, and returned the words with the words of the Lin family. Moreover, this is just one of the conditions for your Lin family's defeat. Now, it's time to talk about another condition. He suddenly looked at Lin Ruobing, the head of the Lin family, who had been silent since old Ghost Lin's defeat, and said without mercy, "Master Lin, there must be someone to resist this matter. In this case, you should go to the meritorious courtyard for a visit." House of Merit. It was a special prison set up by the Empire for war criminals. However, almost all the war criminals held in this prison are high-ranking figures with great achievements. If you're not at a high level, you basically can't get in. After entering, these war criminals will not suffer any torture. On the contrary, they can still enjoy the same treatment as before. Beautiful clothes, fine food, beautiful women, everything is available. However, correspondingly, there is no more power and freedom. Everything in the outside world has nothing to do with you. The destination of this life can only be spent in it. This is almost a kind of stubborn suicide. This is the gameplay at the top of the empire. The people below can like to kill, kill, kill at every turn. When a man is angry, he will kill his whole family. But how can those at the top be able to kill and kill at every turn? Those transcendent level bosses in the empire all like to keep a line in everything they do, so that they can meet easily in the Academy of Merit. Harmony brings wealth. Over the years, various families in the empire have formed corresponding tacit understandings and unspoken rules. Easy and won't break. What did you say? Okay, I agree. Before any of the angry and bloody Lin family could jump out, Lin Ruobing, the head of the Lin family, spoke suddenly and suppressed everyone's voices. In an instant, the whole place was silent. Lin Ruobing ignored the shocked and angry looks of the others around him, looked directly at Lin Jiuzhou next to him, and handed over the family head's token. "Jiuzhou, from now on, you are the new head of the Lin family." "Father." Lin Jiuzhou's cold eyes trembled slightly, looking a little dazed. Even though he has a cold heart, it is a bit difficult to accept it at this moment. The moment he tremblingly took over the family head's token, all the Lin family members present bowed and said loudly, "Wait, I've met the head of the Jiuzhou family. Wait, I've met the head of the Jiuzhou family. Wait, I've met the head of the Jiuzhou family." The loud voice instantly attracted the attention of countless people in the imperial capital. Lin Jiuxiao, who was hanging upside down outside the gate of the Chen family and fell into a coma, was instantly awakened, and his face became twisted and hideous. Chen Beiyuan looked calmly at the scene where the old master came to an end and the new master came to power, but there was a strange ripple in his heart. The military power changed hands, the old master was executed, and the new master took over. The Lin family seemed to have stabilized the situation for a short time, but internal chaos has begun to appear, and the overall strength is much weaker than before. The root of the disaster has been sown. It just depends on how it sprouts. "Don't let me down." His eyes casually glanced at a certain son of fortune who was huddled in a corner, pretending to be dead. Suddenly, Old Ghost Lin's hoarse voice brought his thoughts back again. I want to know how much the Lin family has paid, and how much the Jiang family, as the royal family, has to pay. Facing Lin Laogui's turbid gaze with some kind of expectation, Chen Beiyuan paused, but he didn't mean to hide it, and said in a frank tone, "The first, second, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and sixth theaters of the empire under the direct command of the royal family will all be handed over to the Chen family." At this point, all 9 theaters of the empire belonged to the Chen family. As soon as these words came out, the whole place was in uproar. Are all the 9 war zones surnamed Chen? Wouldn't that mean that 80% of the entire empire's military power was in the hands of the Chen family? By then, wouldn't the royal family only have the imperial guards left in the palace, with less than half of its overall military power? This is almost like handing out the knife. Is that person in the palace crazy? Will he agree to this condition? Old Ghost Lin was frightened by this sudden news. From ancient times to the present, there has never been a situation where a top family controlled 80% of the empire's military power. This is almost beyond the authority that a minister should have. Almost. All he needs to do is wear the title of Second Emperor on his head. Boom. At this moment, a violent explosion sounded. The gates of Kyoto are broken open. The Chun family's army has entered the city. Entering the city, stepping on the corpses of the Jiang family's imperial guards. This time, our Chen family wins a big victory. A mysterious smile appeared on Chen Beiyuan's face, and he looked into the distance casually, scanning the top families one after another, and murmured to himself, "In this world, there is no shortage of helpless people. It may be difficult to let them take the lead in the charge, but it is easy to let them wave the flag and cheer from behind." In this situation, does that guy still have a choice? Does he dare to gamble? Since ancient times, the winner is king and kills everyone. This time the king's surname is Chen. For some reason, the Lin family, who were still a little angry and aggrieved at first, felt inexplicably happy after learning from Chen Beiyuan that the royal family was actually worse off than they were, and that they were just about to lose all their military power and become mere commanders. And gratified. The joys and sorrows of people are not the same. If they are simply unlucky, they may still be dissatisfied and angry. But if there is another unlucky guy who is more miserable and more contrasting, then everything will become fair. At this moment, Chen Beiyuan's eyes suddenly flashed with a strange color, and the palm of his right hand trembled slightly, and even the terrifying pressure of the aura on his body seemed to be empty for a moment. This illusory fluctuation was very secretive, and it was suppressed by Chen Beiyuan in time, so that no one present was aware of it. However, when everyone thought about it and looked forward, they suddenly discovered that Chen Beiyuan, who was still standing there just now, had disappeared. Only a faint, cold voice remained. This time, it's just a beating for the Lin family. Next time, it won't necessarily be the case. As soon as he finished speaking, many people present turned pale and seemed to be a little frightened. Most of the joy and relief they had just felt had dissipated. Lin Jiuzhou couldn't help but clenched his fists. The emotions of the Lin family's defeat and the powerful and domineering image of Chen Beiyuan came to mind again. Chen family, blood pool in the inner courtyard. Dressed in black, with long hair and fluttering hair, Chen Beiyuan suddenly walked out of the void out of thin air, with terrifying magical power. But before he could continue to maintain his powerful image, a sudden change occurred. I saw that his face suddenly turned pale, his body trembled, as if he had been exhausted, and he knelt directly on the ground, and large beads of sweat instantly climbed up his forehead. Time is up. The terrifying aura of the emperor level peak in him began to fall crazily. The pinnacle of emperor level. The pinnacle of sovereign level. The pinnacle of king level. Peak general level. Beginner level of general. In less than a few seconds, he actually fell down several realms in a row, falling back to the initial level of a warrior. Moreover, the whole person's aura also became extremely weak. Snapped. A strange diamond-shaped sacred stone fell from the palm of his right hand and hit the ground. Fortunately, we left in time. If we had been slower for a second, the secret would have been exposed on the spot, and the good situation would have been completely wiped out. Chen Beiyuan gasped and picked up the stone of divine transformation, secretly rejoicing in his heart. The almost invincible posture before did not appear out of thin air. Naturally, there is also a huge price. The stone of divine transformation, soul binding, an ancient divine stone that contains strange energy. Since this divine stone has been bound to the soul of the host, others cannot use it. Once this divine stone is used, it can forcibly raise one's own cultivation level to a greater level. Duration: half an hour. Afterwards, the user will fall into an extremely weak state, and his cultivation level will be temporarily sealed. Current number of uses remaining: twice. 1 second, he was still showing himself holy and invincible in front of others, but the next second, he fell into an extremely weak state, as if he had been drained dry. Most of the cultivation base has been sealed now, and most of the methods can no longer be used. However, the power of the physical body has not been interfered with. It seems to be ineffective against the physical body. Sure enough, it was right to choose both physical and mental cultivation. Although he is in a weak state at the moment, he still maintains a certain level of combat power. I just don't know how long this seal will last. Chen Beiyuan endured the fatigue and sleepiness, and secretly breathed a sigh of relief after making a rough assessment of his situation. Sleepy. A hazy sleepiness gradually enveloped his mind, pulling him down bit by bit. It was a kind of exhaustion from mental to physical. From the initial continuous layout to the subsequent battle, there are also the blessings of the sequelae of the Stone of Transformation. At this moment, he has reached his limit and just wants to have a good sleep. Fortunately, all arrangements have come to an end, and he was in the safest place in the Chen family. Snapped. Chen Beiyuan forced himself to stand up, staggered into the retreat room, closed the dragon-suppressing stone, leaned against the wall, and fell asleep. Even though he was in a family, the caution engraved in his bones still allowed him to plan a backup plan in advance. And just when he fell into a deep sleep, he didn't notice that his body began to undergo some special changes. Click, click, click. A sound of flesh and bone colliding and contracting appeared in the retreat room. Chen Beiyuan's body actually began to shrink a little bit, as if he was rejuvenated. Clothes that originally fit me started to look too big, like grown-up clothes on a child. At this moment, the red mark between his eyebrows glowed with light. A silly little figure with 2 buns on his head, a red skirt, and a thick dragon tail suddenly appeared. Obviously, a certain little silly dragon that had been sleeping for a while woke up again. A Yuan, Anu wants to drink Nai. Anu's first reaction when she woke up was to drink Nana out of habit, but the next moment, her expression suddenly became weird, and she looked strangely at the person in front of her who had become as tall as her and was still sleeping soundly. Yuan, have you become shorter? She squatted down curiously, stretched out her little hand, and curiously poked the young lady in front of her. Those dark purple eyes seemed to be shining with some other light. Just after Chen Beiyuan disappeared, just as he expected. Not long after the Chen family's army entered the city, Jiang Bai from Donghua Academy rushed into the palace, seemingly bringing along the Chen family's conditions. Soon, the palace made the final compromise decision. An imperial edict came from the palace. Chen Zhiqing is proposed to take over the post of commander-in-chief of the Imperial Theater and temporarily act as the 9th Theater. Facing this imperial edict, every family in the imperial capital seemed particularly calm and remained silent. At this point, all 9 theaters of the empire belonged to the Chen family.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.